So last year when Ninja was blowing up, remember that on Twitch? I had a coworker next to me at a media company, and they turned to me and they said, "What's Twitch?" And I think that basically sums up media elitism in one quick story. But really, I think what we want to talk about is the idea of mainstream media. I don't really feel like it exists anymore. You can read a Slate article next to a Breitbart article, next to a CNN article, next to a Axios article. There's no news company has a vice-hold grip on the information or opinions or thoughts that they used to 40 years ago. Do you know what I mean? There's no it's not just the New York Times or the Washington Post anymore. You can basically read from a variety of sources, whatever your ideology may be and whatever the media publication's ideology may be. And you can kind of fact find on yourself if you're diligent. So I kind of want to press back against the idea of what is mainstream media? Is it just media that has a lot of money behind it? Or is mainstream media just liberal? I don't know if the concept mainstream media exists anymore to somebody who's reasonably educated on how to search on Google. So if there's no mainstream media, then how can you determine who's trustworthy and who's not? Well, because media is so fractured, your best approach is really to look at the reporters themselves. Every media company nowadays has a bunch of hack reporters and a bunch of good reporters. And that's kind of across the board. You may not want to believe it, you may not like it. If you're liberal, you may want to be like, no, the Daily Caller doesn't have any good reporters, the Daily Wire doesn't have any good reporters. But that's not true. They do have some good ones, just like they have some hacky ones. BuzzFeed News or Vice. If you're conservative, you may feel like, no, they're all trash, they're all fake news, they're all propaganda. Some of them are hacky journalists, some of them are real journalists. And what you want to do is kind of just develop a list of journalists that you can trust. And you do that by just reading widely and observing, who has thoughtful opinions. There's a guy who writes for the National Review, which is a historically very conservative paper founded by William F. Buckley, that I really like. I forget his name at the moment, maybe I'll put it in the description. But he writes very articulate, well thought out articles. That being said, there's also articles written by Bloomberg and Axios that I like. But I pay attention to who the writer is, less so than the publication. Because media is so fractured, journalists hop around quite frequently. Journalists are less ideologically driven, I think, than most of the viewers and readers are. And because of that, you'll find often inside media, people that work at Fox News will suddenly work at, some liberal MSNBC, and people that work at, classic example, Megyn Kelly, right? She was the anchor of Fox News, and then she just went to NBC. The people working inside media often aren't as ideologically driven as the platform they're working for sometimes. And so, if you want to be an informed viewer about the news, I think the key takeaway is to pay attention to who's writing what and find out the good people from each media publication and not rely on any one particular media publication. Because, like I said, each media publication is going to be 50% hack. It's going to be 50% there to get clicks and get views and get traffic. But there's also going to be some serious pieces, some well thought out pieces. And if you allow yourself, you'll recognize it. You'll recognize it oh, that piece by the National Review, that was an interesting, insightful piece. I may not agree with it, but it was an articulate argument. Same with Vice or, Vanity Fair. You might think, this is such a hacky publication. It's full of liberal, bias. But occasionally, one writer you might find you actually like. You don't always have to agree with it, but you can understand their point of view. And that would be my take as somebody inside media about how to approach news and media. Is to not pick publications, but to pick journalists you like. Because they're going to be sprinkled throughout in the way that our media system is now structured in the United States. Anyway, that's just a thought for this morning. Hope you guys have a good one. It's very hard to balance this hair. I still haven't quite figured it out, the white balance. Look like a Jake Paul ripoff.